Hello and welcome back, or for the first time, to my channel where I talk about where my university course is going to take me, as well as books, anything related to books, and much more. Today I will be doing a review for The Wolf Den, talking about things that I loved about it, because overall I really adored this. It will be non-spoiler, so yes, you can watch this without having read the book to see if you think it's to your taste. Hopefully I convince a few of you watching to pick this up, because I think it is absolutely brilliant. And if you've already read it and enjoyed it, please do let me know in the comments below. Or if you didn't enjoy it, I'd be very interested to hear why. So now I will get straight into what The Wolf Den is about. So The Wolf Den is a brothel which is in Pompeii, set in 74 AD, so part of the ancient Roman Empire. And so, as I said, yes, the Wolf Den is a brothel where most of our main characters are forced to work as slaves. So, yes, our main perspective is called Amara. She is our sole perspective, our only POV throughout this story. And through her, we see all the events unfold. Her particular background is that she came from a family in Greece. Her father was a doctor. But through events that transpired, they became bankrupt and she ended being sold into slavery. The story is much longer than that, but I won't spoil it. And yes, I've just simplified it for the sake of this, so I don't take up too much of your time. But yeah, so this is quite a tragic background which begins Amara's story, and we are following her as she's working in the Wolf Den. It's not she's not just been introduced to it, but she's not used to it either. I mean, how could you be? But she's still adapting to this new tragic life that she has been thrown into. But throughout this, there's an element of hope that she is trying to escape what she has been thrown into. This is a story filled with so much tragedy, because of course it is, the themes that it's combating. It's about identity being taken away, about that element of hope which so often seems to be taken away, because our characters are being forced to work as sex workers in this brothel. They are slaves, and it's combating that idea of power and the effect it has on people to have that own identity and agency taken away from you. But whilst there is of course that element of tragedy, there is also so much heart, which I think Elodie Harper does an absolutely brilliant job of balancing, because our characters here, the women who work in the Wolf Den, they are there for each other throughout everything that happens. They are there to support each other, and whilst they are seeking their own survival and doing what they can to, as I said, survive, and some of them are also trying to escape the lifestyle they've been thrown into, at the end of the day, they all have each other's backs, because they're the only people who understand what the others are going through. They come from very different backgrounds, they have very different personalities, which Elodie Harper just brings to life through the pages. She's so brilliant at making sure that no character is overlooked. It's very rare in books that I've read that you don't even think of a character as not being well developed, because they all are, no matter who you meet. And whilst there's quite a small cast overall, there's probably 9 or 10 characters who I'd say are done absolutely superbly. Elodie Harper really analyses the psyche of the human mind, and I think she does a brilliant job of bringing it to life, where each character has different motivations, different trials and tribulations thrown their way, and the way that they combat it and it links and interweaves in and out of the story is just absolutely fantastic. I think it makes and shows Elodie Harper is such a skilled writer in many respects, because not only has she got brilliant prose where it's stripped back but very beautiful at times as well, and she adds little flourishes when it's needed to recreate that vivid image and really hit home those really hard points. I think that she's also done a brilliant job with character, but also the way the plot unfolds. This is not an epic story, it is intimate. It's about these group of characters, as I said, and it is about our main character trying to escape being in this life. And of course that is not easy. It's not simply running away. Where would the money come from? You are seen as a slave, and in ancient Roman society that means of course that you have no right to own or have anything. You have no agency at all. And I think Elodie Harper does a great job of, despite this not being an epic story, it's a very intimate one, she does a great job of crafting that tension and really building it to a climactic ending which blew me away. And I have ashamedly not read book 2 yet, but I will get to that in a minute. Going back to what I was saying about the main characters and their bond together, I'm just going to read out a quote which I think really summarises it perfectly. It says, "Either we choose to stay alive or we give up. And if it's living we choose, then we do whatever it takes." And I think that really captures a lot of what this book is about. It's doing whatever it takes for your own survival, but also to make sure the others can carry on as well. Really highlighting those themes of friendship, but loss and power as well. So yes, this is historical fiction, not military historical fiction, but historical fiction nonetheless. And I think it does a brilliant job of bringing the vibrant culture of Pompeii and ancient Rome to life. So obviously Pompeii is not around anymore. I think most people know why. And yes, I think it's really interesting, especially it was to me anyway, seeing Pompeii alive and thriving in many ways. I thought Elodie Harper does a great job of showing all the different approaches to life. We see a wide variety of characters. Our main perspective, Amara, is thrown in the deep end, interacting with the upper class, the aristocracy, who see her as an object basically. But she also meets other slaves and sees what their trades are, forced to work in a pottery, for example, is one, and business owners. We really get to see the full scope of Roman society through this lens. And I'm not an expert, far from it, from Roman history, but I feel that Elodie Harper did a great job at really crafting what felt like an authentic tone and atmosphere. Doesn't mean it was, but it just meant that I was really immersed and engaged in this story, and it added another layer that I just found to be really enjoyable. I mean, I think I said this in my intro video or video I've done already, but when people say I was hooked from page 1 to the very end, that is often thrown around, and people say that about a lot of books, but I really don't, and I really would apply that to The Wolf Den. From the first page, I think the writing style and the events that were unfolding already just absolutely hooked me. And as I said, I was there until the very last page. This was an enthralling read. It just really engaged me. It's one of those rare books that I was thinking about when I put the book down and I was walking around doing other jobs and just life basically, and it's one of those books that was just with me the whole time, and I was really mulling over what was going on, thinking about the characters, those really pivotal moments of growth and realization as well, because not only does Elodie Harper work on the characters that I feel very attached to and you really rooting for them, but there are also some villains. It's not as simply put as that, because they're not just villains. As I said, Elodie Harper does a brilliant job of character, and that means that they are grey as well, so it's not just black and white. And there's a character, Felix, who runs the Wolf Den, and he is a despicable human being, but we're also shown elements of how he's got where he has, which is really weird how you feel sympathy for part of his past, but you still hate him, and I felt my blood boil whenever he's on the page. But he was also quite an oppressive and terrifying figure, and so yes, it was also quite enchanting and enthralling when he was on the page. And the point I'm making, I'm sorry, I'm going on a bit of a tangent. The point I'm making is that Elodie Harper does not neglect some characters. She makes sure that everyone has a full enough page time to really become their own and shine through the pages. Another point I was going to make on the prose, which really lent itself to how the story is told, is that Elodie Harper does not really focus on those really harsh moments, that she does not shy away from what these characters go through, and some of it is quite horrifying and very uncomfortable to read, but she does not linger on it. It is told in the same way as most of the rest of the story is, and I thought this was very clever, because to me anyway, it seems to show that this is normal to these characters. These are horrifying events that are of course scarring, but to these characters, and Amara in particular, as the perspective is hers, it is normal. She goes through this on a daily basis, and it really shows that through the prose, not lingering on those events. And it's another aspect that Elodie Harper, it shows, has really constructed a brilliant story, not just through a great plot or good characters, but interweaving everything and really using that prose to highlight what is going on in the text, because that is what prose is there for, isn't it? Adapting your prose to really just show the story that the author wants to tell. And in my opinion, Elodie Harper really succeeded in doing that. So yes, this is essentially a story about survival and trying to carry on in a cruel and unforgiving world, but it is also one that is driven by hope. The hope to try and escape the life they're thrown into, but also the hope that friendship provides. It is not explicitly said that, all the characters don't explicitly say, oh, friendship is why I'm able to do this, but it's clearly an undercurrent in my eyes anyway, and I absolutely love how Elodie Harper shows that through the pages, and how the support between these characters really helps the others, and when one of them is going through a tough time, how the others help, but when they're divided as well, what a difference it makes. And yes, I think that is absolutely beautiful. It's in the way Sally Rooney does a brilliant job of showing how important friendship is, and I think Elodie Harper also does so in a brilliant way. So if you enjoy The Wolf Den or you're interested in this but you want to try something else first, I would highly recommend The Silence of the Gales by Pat Barker. That is a Trojan retelling, so it is about the fall of Troy, but from the perspective of Briseis, so one of the women who is known as Achilles' slave. But she has a similar change of lifestyle where she is from the Trojan aristocracy, but through some reason or another she is captured and thrown into slavery of the Greek camp as they're attacking Troy, and to be specific, she is the slave of Achilles. And The Silence of the Gales also shows how Briseis adapts to that new lifestyle in such a harsh and terrible way, and what unfolds. And I think it is also a character driven story, which is about how these figures interact, the difference they have on each other, and it's about power, friendship, reliability, identity and belonging, and so much tragedy and loss as well. So yes, I'd highly recommend The Silence of the Gales. That and The Wolf Den are my favourite books of all time, and so yes, if you can't tell already, I would highly recommend The Wolf Den. I would say that obviously there are trigger warnings in this. This is about women working in a brothel being forced to work as sex workers. So yes, it is not for the faint of heart. It is quite hard hitting. It is quite brutal at times. It is very uncomfortable at times, but it is not over the top. It is not gratuitous. I think Elodie Harper does a very good job of being respectful, but showing what these characters are going through to really show the harsh reality of being a slave at the time of the ancient Roman Empire. So yes, that is my review of The Wolf Den. As I said earlier, please do let me know in the comments below if you're interested in reading this, if you've read this, and let me know what you thought of this review. This is my first review I'm doing on the channel, so if there's any different structure tips you would give me, please do let me know. This is the first one where I plugged a mic in, so I apologise if the sound isn't quite spot on. Please do let me know in the comments below if you have any tips or tricks for that. But thank you everyone so much for watching. Stay safe. William Gwynne, thank you for watching.